thanks for coming along this evening for the demonstration of our Health and Safety Xpert software. We'll be kind of going through the software in just a couple of minutes time. But just before we kind of kick that one off, just want to kind of bring up on screen something that you guys can download from the website. It's kind of talking about one of the health and safety's forms, the HSG 65. It's there for you to download. It is in kind of PDF format. Just what it's to try and help you to achieve is it's a guide to kind of setting out the getting the best out of the HSG 65 information, which is managing for a kind of health and safety approach. It's a very informative kind of PDF. Certainly what it kind of goes through, if I just kind of scroll down here around the kind of contents, it kind of points out your kind of legal duties. Generally, what is the HSG 65? How does the kind of health and safety expert help? And also applying it to a kind of like a project timetable. So it kind of lists the kind of features of the software. It's a very informative kind of document. Explains about your legal duties. All organisations have management processes or arrangements to deal with payroll, personal issues, finance, and quality control. Managing in health and safety is absolutely no different to that. So the management of the Health and Safety at Work Regulations 1999 requires employers to put in place arrangements to control health and safety risks. As a minimum, you should have the processes and procedures required to meet the legal requirements, including a written health and safety policy, especially if you employ 5 or more people, which we'll have a look at. Assessments of the risks to employees, contractors, customers, partners, and any other people who could be affected by your activities, and also record significant findings in writing. Any risk assessments must be suitable and sufficient. Again, something we'll be going through in the software. Arrangements for the effective planning, organisation, control, monitoring, and review of the preventive and protective measures that come from risk assessments. Access to competent health and safety advice, for example, occupational safety and health consultants registrar. Providing employees with information about the risks in your workplace and how they are protected. Instructions and training for employees on how to deal with the risks. Ensuring there is adequate and appropriate supervision in place. And also consulting with employees about their risks at work and current preventative and protective measures. So what is the HSG 65? So the Managing for Health and Safety document produced by the HSC is widely recognised as sound guidance on good practice for managing the health and safety of your business and projects. It does this by using the simple plan, do, check, act framework, identifying the key actions needed in each part of the project cycle and relating them back where appropriate to leadership, management, worker involvement and competence. So the key kind of actions covered around the kind of plan, determining your policy, planning how you'll implement your policy. The do, profiling your health and safety risks, organising for health and safety, implementing your plan. Check, measuring performance, investigating accidents and incidents. And act, reviewing performance, learning lessons ready for your next project. I'm not going to go through the whole document, but what I will do, I can using the kind of the software we're actually using tonight, I can just kind of ping that over. That should kind of pop up once that's kind of downloaded. I think on your GoToMeeting toolbar, it should kind of pop that out. If not, I'll get a copy of that sent on email afterwards. But I've only just covered the first 5 pages. There's actually 29 pages, so it's a very good piece of information just to kind of make sure that you're applying these kind of areas when you're setting out your health and safety. So I'm going to go open up the software now. This is the Health and Safety Xpert 2018. Very, very similar to if you are using any of our other kind of software products. You've got your kind of action buttons on the left-hand side. Now, what you can do here is you can create a new project from scratch. You can open an existing project, or use some of these little kind of URLs here to open any kind of recent files. For those that are actually using our Estimator Express, you can actually import your estimate directly from Estimator Express. If I open that up, then that will give you a list of your Estimator Express projects, and then that will bring the information in that you've got on your Estimator Express. So again, saving you a huge amount of time bringing in the information already in Estimator Express, so you're not having to double up on putting the information in. There is obviously the kind of help menu. This will be kind of full of what the policy. If I just expand that, that will kind of give you an idea how to use the software. Out of all the products that we do supply, this is probably the easiest of the lot to use. And we also do online training, which will open up our website, and that will kind of go straight to the health and safety. We do have some online e-learning courses, so you can learn about asbestos awareness course, working at height course, manual handling, abrasive wheels. So there are a number of health and safety courses there, which I believe you do get a little kind of certificate if you do complete them all. What we're going to do tonight, though, rather than the importing an estimate, which is just very, very similar to creating the new project, just I'm going to be putting the information in. So if I was creating a new project from scratch, so I've got two screens open, so it keeps on open up on the other screen. All I'm going to say is this is going to be a lean-to extension. Hope I can spell extension right. Or I can give it whatever name I want to. It could be site number 1. From the drop-down list, I can designate, if we are obviously doing an extension, I can say that the project type itself is an extension. Now, just by selecting that particular project type, what the software will then do is actually select a number of risk assessments based on an extension it feels that I'm going to use. So it does actually give you some information pulled in based on the project itself. And what the software is also going to do is create a location on my computer. As you can see, I've got a saving on my OneDrive. So if I'm saving on my OneDrive, that means I've got access to all those documents wherever I am, if I'm logging into a site PC or laptop as or a home one as well. Click OK, and then that's just going to save that job. So this is our project details here. You can see there it's bringing in the project name. I can put a reference on there as well if I so choose to do. I'm going to leave that blank for the time being. We can also then put in the client's details. If I was actually doing this with the Estimator Express software, that would be pulling in the client's details from the estimate. Now, what you can also do with the software is you can actually link it to your Outlook. If you're using your Outlook to organize all your contacts, so that's actually pulling in for my customers there. So let's say we're doing this job for Mr. Phillips. So Mr. Phillips, on all the documentation, the health and safety policy, any other documentation it's going to produce, it's going to use Mr. Phillips's details and map them all to my documents. I can put the site address on there as well. Who the building company is, that's obviously me, it's actually registered to myself. Who the health and safety director is, and you can actually add them to the software as you go. So let's say we want to put in Mr. Jones, he's the Health and Safety Director. He's actually putting the Health and Safety Director in there. Health and Safety Director. So you can actually kind of create new kind of records, new users within the software. HS company, and now we can just display that as Mr. Jones, and I can put all the rest of the information in there as well. So Mr. Jones is going to be our Health and Safety Director. Same goes for the Principal Designer and also the Principal Contractor. We can also put the default Risk Assessor. Again, I don't have anyone in there, but if I want to, I could actually show all my clients, and then I can put someone in there if I wanted to. The same for the HSC. I can click on the HSC, the button there, and the software has already been pre-programmed with a number of HSCs, depending on where you're actually doing the work. Let's say we're kind of doing that in central London. There's some useful links at the bottom there as well. If you want to know a little bit about responsibilities and duties for various roles, by clicking on the URL, that will take you to the HSC's website, and that will give you a list of the information on there. Okay. So this is these kind of tabs along the top. This is really just what I'm going to be working through on this particular job. The first tab next to the project details is going to be your health and safety policy. You might already have a health and safety policy in place anyway, but what the software actually gives you is this policy here. Now, what this is actually kind of laying out is the different sections of the policy. It's breaking out into the intro. It's also giving you Part A, which is your health and safety policy statement. It's also got your responsibilities and duties, which is Part B. And then just at the bottom, we've actually got Part C, the arrangements for the health and safety itself. Now, what you can do is you can actually edit any of this, the policy kind of sections as you see fit. So again, just got two screens open, so it's just pinging over onto my other screen. So about this policy, this is the wording that's going to be on the actual document. Now you have the ability of actually changing that and putting in whatever information you want to, but what all that's doing is laying out on the policy what the company is, Part A, Part B, and Part C. Okay, I'm not going to save that. And also the reviewing procedure. Again, you can go into these sections and you can either update or you can edit it or copy over information that you've already got on your own health and safety policy yourself. Part A is a health and policy statement. So again, this will kind of lay out what the actual statement's actually saying, and all these kind of sections here is where the information is going to be pulled in from the project details and then be mapped all over the policy itself. Responsibilities and duties, organizational chart. So there actually is a built-in organizational chart in here, which you have the ability of kind of changing. I'm just going to put in there, Managing Director is Marc, spell my own name right, thick fingers, Marc Brady. And if I want to put in the Contracts Manager, Site Manager, I can also put in a co-worker underneath the Managing Director, or I can put in just going to open it up a little bit, I can actually put in subordinates and also co-workers as I see fit. So you can actually kind of build up the family tree of the actual company itself. A lot of the other sections, I'm not going to kind of go through them all. As you can see there's lots of sections that you can kind of go through, but all it is it's all editable. You can put your own information in there and modify the one that's already there. If I want to preview the policy itself, I can click on that button there which says preview, and what that's going to do is actually open up into a little kind of preview window, and then I can either print them off as like a PDF or a Word document. So this is the policy itself. There's actually, I believe, about 25 pages worth of the kind of document. I'm just going to kind of scroll up so you can actually see all the different parts, how it's going to come out, how it's actually going to be kind of printed off for you to actually kind of use. Now what you can then do is actually export that as a PDF, or you can do it as a Word document if you're using the likes of Office, or you can just print it off. So I'm going to close that preview. Next, the tab along, you're looking at the pre-construction information. So the pre-construction information is defined as information about the project that is in the client's possession or which is reasonably obtained by or on behalf of the client. The information must be relevant to the particular project, have an appropriate level of detail, and be proportionate given the nature of the health and safety risks involved. So pre-construction information, description of the project. Again, I can use this little kind of pencil icon. I can go in there, and that will then kind of give me a blanky kind of canvas to put the information in, what the job is all about, before we're even kind of getting into using or actually building the extension. Some key dates in there: proposed use of structure, existing records and plans if there's any, and also just that you've had the kind of client brief. Again, if I go into the client considerations, I can go into like communication and liaison between clients and others, site security, welfare. Now this is all kind of the our software is completely compliant with the up-to-date CDM regs, especially the new ones that came into effect just a couple of years ago. So that's the pre-construction information, your health and safety file in there as well, how that should look, how it should be laid out, and what kind of information should be kind of gathered for the file itself. The software, based on the fact that we were doing an extension, we've actually got some risk assessments listed here as well. So because we're doing an extension, it's actually allowing me a list of risk assessments it feels I'm going to need on this particular job. As you can see there, they're all kind of listed, all different kind of risk assessments. I'm going to use one as an example, which is going to be excavations. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to do it by alphabetical. So what we've actually got there is a risk assessment for the excavation itself, and also for the excavator we're actually going to be used. So I'm just going to double click on that, going to open it up. So the excavation risk assessment is going to be, the hazard is going to be the excavation. The risks themselves are going to be like a collapse of an unsupported excavation, falling into an unfenced excavation, materials or plant falling into it, if you're actually struck by an excavator. Now what we've then got is a pre-control risk and rating. Now the fact that it could be a regular occurrence of the items falling in there, and obviously if they're going to strike someone on the head, they could result in a fatality, hence the reason why we've got a high score of 36, and it's going to be red. So if you kind of change that, you can see that the kind of colour does actually kind of change, and obviously the kind of score does go up. Now if we put the kind of control measures in place, the likelihood of any of these kind of risks actually happening are going to be now down to 1. It's going to be highly unlikely, and it will be a kind of a trivial kind of outcome. So obviously if you're doing an excavation, you might have some ladder access, warning signs, wheel stops, proper ladder, and also making sure that you're kind of inspecting the excavation as well. As well as using the risk assessment for the excavation, you're also using a risk assessment for the excavator as well. So the excavator, the risk could be involve the machine overturning, contact with obstructions, persons being endangered, by the machine operation, materials or equipment falling from machine. Again, if that's going to be the case, it could be quite dangerous, hence the reason why the high score. And if you put the control measures in place, then that's not going to be so much of a risk anymore, as long as you are complying with the risk assessment on site. So you've got a list of the different risk assessments, from step ladders, plant maintenance, mobile towers, noise, welding. Based on this particular job on an extension, this is the list of risk assessments it feels that you will have to use. As well as the risk assessments, you've also got cost assessments. So substances that are hazardous to health. So these substances that you might kind of come across when you're kind of digging an extension. So for example, concrete. If I open up the cost assessment for concrete, we find that we can actually look at the substance, what the description of the substance is, how it's used, what the application is, if it's hand, machine, applied outdoor, indoor, who's at risk, obviously concreting operatives, anybody else at risk, maybe members of the public, what the risks are, irritants, allergies, chemical burns, dust insulation. What the protective kind of equipment to use, footwear, gloves. Assessment of the risk is a very low risk when used in accordance with the instructions. It's non-flammable and also non-explosive. How you actually store the material, what the first aid requirements are if anybody kind of gets it in their eyes, on their skin. And again, what we can then do is, if we want to, we can preview that risk assessment or cost assessment and get it printed off as part of your file. Construction phase plan sets out the arrangements for securing the health and safety of everyone carrying out the construction work and all others who may be affected by it. Again, you can edit any of these kind of sections you see fit, but it kind of covers the description of the project, the management structure, management of the works, contact names, arrangements for controlling significant safety risks, health risks, and again also your kind of health and safety file. One of the new additions we kind of made into the software of late was the Toolbox Talks. So very short presentations to the actual workforce on kind of single aspects of health and safety, such as welfare, working at heights, excavations. So again, if anybody's kind of if I just do that by alphabet circle, again, if we've got we want to kind of talk to people about excavations, we've got a Toolbox Talk that you can print off, and you can kind of go through these very, very quickly with your kind of workforce. What the talk kind of covers, why you do it, and then you can kind of go through the bullet points there. Any questions? And you can get that kind of signed off and printed off as well. The software also comes with a number of documents to help manage the jobs that you're doing. Just going from the top here, we've got registrars, inspections, work permits. So obviously, if you're kind of doing these risk assessments, then you can print off an acknowledgement of the risk assessment. And if I just go to preview, it's going to preview the document before I print it off. And that's the document that anybody kind of complying with the risk assessments on site will have to sign off. So if anybody falls down that excavation and they've signed off the risk assessment, had their Toolbox Talks, but they've been silly enough to not comply and fall down an excavation and they break a leg, then you can kind of cover yourself to make sure that it doesn't come back on you. You've kind of complied with the HSE. If we've got that excavation, there's an excavation inspection. So again, just going to preview that particular document, open that one up, and then that's a kind of giving you a kind of a list, things to kind of check through, make sure you're inspecting it correctly, and then you get that kind of printed off. So if the HSE come walking in on site because Joe Bloggs is kind of fallen down, you can say, well, we did actually inspect that and it was all signed off. Scaffolding inspection, site rules, what your site rules are, site audits, inspection checklists, Toolbox Talks training records. So if we are having those Toolbox Talks, people have actually been signed off and kind of using it. Last but not least is the health and safety file sections, description of the work, key structural principles. So everything's kind of covered off. Anything that you want to, you can actually edit, but this actually kind of comes in line with the HSG 65. Make sure that you're actually kind of covering all your health and safety requirements, all your paperwork is in place, especially if the HSE kind of comes in on site, just to kind of check through your complying with CDM regs, and then the software will actually do the rest. So as I said, it's a very, very simple piece of software to kind of go through. Has anybody got any questions? I'll be hanging on for the next 5 minutes. Please use the kind of GoToMeeting question box that you can fire any kind of questions over to me, and I'll be quite happy to answer them. Seem to have any questions coming through at this stage. I'd like to thank you for your participation in this evening's demonstration. We'll hopefully be in touch over the next few days just to go through any questions and stuff that you do have. But yeah, in the meantime, you can kind of send us anything any questions you like. And also, I've sent over the HBXL guide to the HSG 65. So many thanks for attending this evening, and we'll catch up very, very soon. Thank you very much.